Hey, good morning, everybody. We have a new format this morning. I know 30 minutes might be too much for some of you, not enough for some of you, but here's how we're going to do going forward. 5 minutes, the first 5 minutes, I'm going to talk about news stories that will personally, that will affect the market. Could push it higher, could push it lower, might give you some worry or concern, suggest what you might look out for during the week that will influence the market's direction. Then the next 5 minutes, I'm going to be talking about the SPY, ranges of support and resistance, how we figure those out using dark pool levels, using volume to help you understand when the direction might change in any given day. When you see something reject, how low can the SPY drop? Where might it find support and then go back north? Just to help you understand and break down the market. And then the last 5 minutes of the stream, I will answer any questions if you guys put them on the sidelines, or I'm going to talk about my plays, certain stocks that I'm looking for. And there are two specific stocks that I'm going to mention today, one being Zoom, one being Tesla. So if you have interest, please stick around to the end. Okay, so let's get right into it. That's why I'm here. I'm here to help improve your trading skills. I'll give you a quick analysis or a story, okay? Say I wanted to drop some weight and I want to work out, right? I start working out, my arms are getting good, my chest is getting good, and I still have an old man gut. I still have a fat stomach. Well, if I don't change the way I work out, it's great if I'm toned everywhere else, but my stomach isn't toned. How do I do that? Well, I actually need to focus on my stomach. So those of you that trade, and some of you could be amazing goddamn traders. You can understand the market. You can understand entry and exit and how people profit and how much opportunity there is in the market. However, your trading just lacks. Instead of being a winning trader, 60, 65% of the time, you're losing 70 or 80% of your trades. And you can't figure out why, because you're smart enough to process the market. Well, you're smart enough to watch me right here, so understand what I'm saying. But you have every skill and tool needed to succeed in the market, but you can't. Just like me working out, I've been doing this for years and then I stopped because I'm like, how is my belly not going down? Because I don't focus on my core. I focus on the things that I like to work out and do. So when I look at my trading, I say, well, what is my biggest flaw? How can I improve my trading? It's always entry point. I always find a decent strategy that makes sense. I always give myself enough time to be correct. It's my entry point that sucks. I always suffer from FOMO. I'm sitting there at 10, 10:30, 11 in the morning. I can't wait to get into a trade when the smartest thing I could do might be to wait till 3 p.m. to enter that trade. It might be to wait till 12:30 and enter that trade. But when I start out a trade, if I'm down 20%, when the trade finally goes positive 10%, if I got in at a better entry, I would be up 40, 50%. I'd call it, boom, there's a trade, a winning trade. I'm done. I'm out. But because if I start a trade off and I'm down 18 or 20% and I don't want to average down because that can get me in trouble, when I finally go green, I'm like, okay, I'm holding. I'm going to get greedy. I want 30% of this trade, which never gets there because then it pulls back. And then I'm going to fight with myself mentally saying, is this something I hold on to? Is this something I have to sell? Do I take a loss? Do I take a minimal win on it? So those are some things. Yes, thank you, Kingdom. I am feeling so much better. I was suffering from influenza A. To me, it's worse than COVID. I've got to see a pulmonary specialist. Okay, so let's talk about the market this week and what we can expect. Let me just get to some of these key points. Here we go. Key events this week. And be ready for this. And I'll explain why it's important after I talk about the key events. Key events, CPI tomorrow, Tuesday. What do we have Wednesday? PPI Wednesday. What else do we have Wednesday? June Fed meeting, 25 basis point increase or flat. Okay, I'll explain why I believe both might actually lead to a bearish circumstance. Next, retail sales data Thursday, initial jobless claims on Thursday, and then we have two Fed speakers later in the week. So understand, this week is going to be extremely, extremely volatile. What else? Okay, the greed index. I mean, things are just so. Okay, here we go. This is a post that I took from somebody on Twitter, Peter Tarr, very smart individual, okay? The SPX, the SPY, S&P average, on average, peaks 154 days after the yield curve inversion and sees an average of 12.9% gain. Now, here's the thing. We're currently 147 days sitting exactly at 12.9% gain from the November 7th, 2022 inversion. So basically, he's saying the S&P 500 peaks 154 days after this inversion, and the average gain is 12.9%. Well, we're at 12.9%. We're at 147 days. So we're plus or minus 7 days out, meaning I believe we're almost peaked out, which is leading me to talk about the SPY and what could potentially happen this week. Now, first, let's get into the SPY ranges of support and resistance. I'm getting into the SPY for the next 5 minutes. If you have questions, put it on the sidelines. Okay, first, SPY, the last now 4 Mondays, okay, we've seen extremely low volume, and we've seen a 3-point max range, meaning from the high on the SPY to the low on the SPY. Go back the last 4 Mondays. There hasn't been that much movement. So what is that telling me or preparing me for today? It's telling me in all likelihood, we'll see a lesser volume day, probably 60 to 62 million on the SPY. We're probably going to see a 3-point range from the top. Let's just hypothetically say the top is 431.80. Where would the bottom be? If we're at 431.80 and we see it peak out and reject that number, the bottom will be 428.80. Again, only 3-point range. Now here's the strong more data, I guess. Tuesday has been a lot like Monday for the past 4 weeks. Granted, tomorrow we have CPI, so things could be a little different, but understand the SPY range for Tuesdays is about 3.5 points. And of course, I'll talk about that tomorrow. That was a specific stock. That was the greed level. That was a chiropractor I was looking for. Okay, here we go. Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan Chase, expects FFR to hit 7%. Meanwhile, and FFR is the Fed funds rate, okay? Fed funds rate, which is basically the interest rate that they're moving up 25 basis points or they're keeping flat. Meanwhile, the stock market has priced in a pause for June, a possible rate hike for July, but anticipates 2 to 3 cuts by the end of the year to take the Fed funds rate to 4.25. So there's the deviation right there. There's the disconnect right there. Jamie Dimon, running the world's largest bank, says Fed funds rate should be 7%. He expects it to hit. Meanwhile, the market is saying Fed funds rate 4.25% by the end of the year. Do you see the disconnect? It's not like we're talking about 50 basis points. We're talking about 300 basis points. So what I'm expecting in the market, again, we're pulling out liquidity, as I mentioned, Monday will probably go up. It'll be somewhat of a chop, 3-point range. Tuesday, I'm looking for something similar. I'm not thinking the market's going to go up. I actually think we might finish red tomorrow. Now, Wednesday, okay, we have the PPI numbers, and then we have the Fed announcement at 2 o'clock. Well, here's what I see as likely to happen. People say, okay, no Fed funds hike. The market's bullish AF, right? It just goes up and up. What's likely to happen in my mind is people are expecting the market to rip on Wednesday when the Fed comes out and says no rate hike. So what do we see? As soon as the Fed comes out, no rate hike. Boom, market rips higher only to be sold off within 15 or 20 minutes. And we've seen this on other Fed days. Now, I'm going to give you another stat that is probably going to wow you. And some of you know because you follow me on Webull, and it's a posting I made on Webull. But let's get ready. The past 7 Fed meetings, all right? Let's go back to, I guess, July of last year. July 26th and 27th, a 2-day period. The market or the SPY moved from 385 on the low to 407 on the high. Now, it doesn't mean all of these instances are bullishes. I'm just giving you the range on the low side, the range on the high side. So from 385 to 407, a $22 range, which is a 6% move in 2-day period. That was July. We skip August, September of last year, 360 to 386, a $26 move, which is what? Close to a 7% move. Okay, that was September. October, nothing. November, a 22-point move from the bottom to the top. Then December, again, month by month, 380 to 407, a 27-point move, which is what? An 8% move. So you've got July, September, November, December. Then you go to January. Again, an $18 move, which was a 5.5% move. February, we didn't have one. March 22nd, 21st, 22nd, $12 move. Again, that's a 4% move. And then in May, which was obviously last month, we saw a $15 move from 403 on the low end to 418 on the high end. So as this is happening on the 15th and 16th of this month, which is this week, I'm telling you on the low end, let's say we see a $12 move. I'm not saying if we're going higher or lower. What I'm telling you is have strategy and prepare yourself. So let's just say $12 move, you're talking about 3%. $27 move, you're talking about a 7% move within a 2-day period. So let's just give you two scenarios. Let's say the market decides to sell off. I'm not telling you that's what's going to happen. I'm saying prepare for your bear case scenario. Your bear case scenario is, let's say we're at $436 going into Wednesday and the Fed's announcement. Between Wednesday and Thursday, if you're a bear and you see a 5% move, let's just take a median average, 5% move, we close at 436 going into Wednesday, and it's a 5% move to the downside. 5% of 436 would be about 21 points. So 436, you can go all the way down to 415. So I'm saying be prepared. Also, let's go over a bull case scenario. Let's say the markets rip higher and I was wrong and they do not sell off. Again, a 5% move. Let's say we're sitting at 430 entering Wednesday, Fed decision day, and let's say the 5% is bullish between Wednesday and Thursday, right? Because it's always a 2-day time frame. And again, I'm going back to the last 7 Fed meetings. Let's say you go 5% up from 430 going into Wednesday, 5%, 21 points, you'd be at 451. So people that are saying 451, they're there. That's your bull case scenario. Other people that are saying we're going down to 400, that's a little extreme. But again, a 5% move from, let's say, 430, 435, something like that, you're talking about 20 points. You're talking about 410, 412. So please be prepared for both sides. Okay, so that was my 5 minutes story, my 5 minutes about the SPY. Now we're going to go into 5 minutes about what my plays are for the week, okay? I've got 2 specific plays that I'm looking at, and I'm also going to be trading top flow. I've mentioned top flow before, and where do I find top flow? I will show you guys because this is the first thing I look at every morning on Discord. So let me just add that to the stream. Make sure you guys can see it with me. All right, so I'll go to Discord, and I already did my search. I go to the Flow and Algos room, and if you look up right here, here's my dark pool level for the SPY. So when I talk about resistance or support, again, you look at the different inflection points, 428.67, 430.88. You can add about $2.21. So you know that the next level up is going to be about 433. So although you don't see the dark pool level, you can look at the intervals between these numbers and you'll see it's about $2.20, $2.21. So the fact that the dark pool is not given doesn't mean that it's missing. You could just do the math yourself, 433, and then it would be 435.21. But we're not talking about the dark pools right now. We're not talking about the SPY. I already did that. We are talking about top flows. So here are your top flows, and here are 2 stocks that I'm looking to play, and I'll talk about them, okay? Tesla, one of the most actively traded options. We all know that. What else? Zoom. Now, I have 2 differences of opinion here, all right? So again, they're both on the bullish side going out of Friday. Again, this could easily change. Tesla could easily be, one of the top bearish signs today. So any of these could flip. This is how we were trading Friday, but I know there's a lot of activity there. So what am I looking at as far as 2 trading ideas? Well, let me pull them up because I highlight them on my phone and I save that information. Let me just find out where I saved it at. All right, Tesla. I took this from TradyTix. TradyTix is the one that supports all of our flows and algorithms on our SOC platform. If you're looking to join the SOC platform, soc-platform.com, you get updates from me 9 a.m., 11:15, and 2:15. 3 times a day, I'm going to drop videos. You also have Matt's trades, and then I'm going to add an additional room coming up in the upcoming week, and that'll be kind of a surprise room. Okay, Tesla dealers have slayed almost every move in the past 2 years. Understand, broker dealers, right? They're on top of the moves. They're there first to make money. They're the market makers, okay? So here's the thing. Every time they turn negative, price tends to go up. So these market makers, these Greek dealers slay every 2 years for the past 2 years, right? Turns negative, price goes up, and vice versa. When the dealers' deltas turn positive, all right, the price of Tesla goes down. So what's happening to the deltas for the dealers? Well, shit, If you're looking right here, they're about to turn positive. When they've turned positive each of the past 2 years, in the past 2 years, Tesla stock has gone down. So all the time where it's negative, Tesla stock is going up. So we've seen that, and I've mentioned that for a long time now. But again, something I'm focusing on. So I'm considering Tesla puts. Now, I'm not going to fight it. I need to see rejection on Tesla first in order to grab some puts. The other trade that I was looking at this week, where did I take that? Oh, Zoom. Okay. So Zoom, we all know Zoom during the pandemic shot up. But here's what I'm looking at. Okay. It's going into all-time lows, but insane flow came in on Friday. Okay. I saw 4 different orders come in for Zoom. The first one, July 21st, $75 calls, 1.5 million, right? That's the money they spent, the premium. Same date, $70 calls, 500,000. Okay, so now we're at 2 million on the same date. Then I go to the July 21st, $80 calls. Again, the same date, and we're talking about what? 1 month away. So it's not even like they're going out 3 to 4 months. They're going out 1 month. $80 calls, another $340,000 of premium. So now you're at $2.4 million just for that July 21st expiration of Zoom calls. And again, I believe Zoom's in the what? $62 range, $63 range. These are $70 calls, $75 calls, and $80 calls. And then they also went out to August 18th, which added 1 more month, and they went in for $1.57 million worth of premiums, okay? So if I wanted to take 2 stocks in the NASDAQ, right? And again, I don't want to get myself in trouble. I don't want to say the market's only going higher because I already explained in my first 5 minutes why I believe the market will contract within the next 7 to 10 days. And I think it'll be somewhat substantial. But again, do your own due diligence. You don't have to just go off my opinion. But the point is, I could be bullish Zoom based on these 4 trades that I've seen come in with a premium of 2.5 million. Again, I'm going to do my own research. I'm going to chart out Zoom. I'm going to find the proper entry. I'm going to decide what the proper exit is. I want to give myself more than enough time. So these are in July 21st calls. Well, why would I choose anything with a more sooner date than that? This $2.4 million plus another $350,000 all have dates of July 21st and August 18th. So I'm not going to get myself in more trouble there. Again, why could I be bearish Tesla? Well, not quite yet. But again, dealers, the Greek dealers, every time they turn negative, price tends to go up and vice versa. When the dealer's delta turns positive, which just happened, Tesla tends to go down. So again, I don't need to be the first on the bandwagon, but I definitely have Tesla puts in my sight. And should the market turn and should people be like, oh, Fed's not raising rates, market should shoot up. Remember, anytime the Fed makes an announcement, what do we like to see? A rip, a dip, a rip, a dip. And again, my opinion, and I'll speak more about this tomorrow if you're here to join me. And if you're joining me tomorrow, thumbs up. Let's look and see if we have any questions real quick. Because again, I want to keep this YouTube structured. I want to go 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. I know a lot of you have busy mornings. So let's see. Let's go for questions. When will Zim move? Zim Shipping Company. I'm actually not in Zim anymore. Do I think it'll moon? I mean, it's an Israeli company. They do good work. They need to have earnings, bring back their dividend. So again, once they have earnings, once shipping picks up. Now, will shipping pick up? I think China is still struggling. I think the shipping industry will still struggle because I still think we're headed into recession. I know all these banks are saying, hey, man, don't worry about recession. But credit card debt is through the roof. People aren't paying their bills. I mean, there's a lot of shit going on. What do we got there? Waiting to trade is the hardest thing. Yeah, I mean, that's where I suffer from again. How do I join your platform? Again, I joined the Discord. I also wanted to ask you about that 24-hour market hours and your opinion on AMD. Okay, so you could join our platform by joining soc-platform.com. That gets you onto Discord. You got to verify yourself. You wanted to ask me about the 24-hour market hours. Okay, to me, anytime they're going to allow you to trade longer hours, and maybe Robinhood's going to do this, and people love to trade futures. Again, for me, it's more risk for reward. If you're not comfortable with trading during normal hours, then I wouldn't suggest anybody get involved with extra trading. It's like the casinos open 24/7. But if you watch and you see the blackjack players or the craps players or whatever, The good players, they're not playing at 2 in the morning. Same with the good traders. They're not going to be trading at 2 in the morning. The only time you trade at 2 in the morning is if you're trading FX, if you're trading some type of currency. Then, it's open, and there's other geopolitical issues that will affect currency and things like that. Also, my insight on crypto. Crypto's in trouble. If you're going to be in crypto, I want to be in one of the biggest coins. I want to be in Bitcoin. I want to be in Ethereum, but understand if crypto gets hurt. And here's the analogy I'll give you on crypto, okay? The SEC came out and they said that I think it was like 67 different cryptocurrencies need to be regulated. And that's why Coinbase is in trouble because they didn't register as a broker dealer for these 67 currencies. Well, you know how many small altcoins there are? There are 25,673. So, man, the SEC has to catch up and add these. But when they're doing, Binance is leaving. Binance left Canada. I think Binance might be leaving the U.S. Coinbase is now in trouble. I heard Coinbase fines could be anywhere from $5 to $6 billion. The company has a valuation of $13 billion. So understand, if Coinbase is trading at $52, $53, and they get fined and that gets removed from the market cap of the company, which is, they need this money. I mean, they need this cash. Coinbase owners can get ripped to shreds. Good morning, Matt. Glad to see you back. Can you tell us a dark pool of Tesla? Okay, so we'll finish off with Tesla, but I already mentioned what I believe will happen in Tesla and sometime soon. Again, we're talking about the dealers, the Greeks. Every time that they turn negative, price goes up, and every time the deltas turn positive, which just happened, Tesla goes down. So I'm going to keep my eye on the delta for Tesla. Dark pool doesn't really matter for me. They've been buying up Tesla. I mentioned it on Monday of last week. It was like 7 straight days, and then Tesla exploded, 5 more days, including ripping towards the end of the week. Again, they're going to have extra income from these charging stations that they're partnering with Ford, and they're letting GM in as well. Their profit margin on these charging stations is 10%. That's it. They make 10%. But let's remember, Tesla has their solar companies. Tesla has all these other things. So we'll get to dark pool levels if you need to see them. I'm sorry, I just can't share them today. Got to head over to Discord. We're going to try and keep this down to a 15-minute. We went 22 today, so obviously I have some things to work on. But if you like what I did, thumbs up, join me tomorrow, and I'll see everybody later.